Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me with Coach Powell. I've been doing this program now going on 20 years. And since COVID started, we put this online and we just picked up, oh my God, I'm so excited. We just picked up the LinkedIn sponsorship. So now we can broadcast simulcast across 3 platforms at the same time: Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So if you're watching us today, you can see us everywhere we are. You can participate, you can play with us, you can do whatever you need to do to make sure that you're plugged in to what we're doing. Do me a favor, if you are on your screen right now, you're watching it in different areas, that's fine. Just make sure you put yourself on mute so we don't get any feedback from anybody who's watching it. If you do, I'll notice it and we'll talk about it. Today's show is brought to you by all my sponsors, and I gotta say a big warm welcome and a healthy shout out to Blacks in Government, which is, I would say, America's national resource for any African Americans who work in the federal, municipal, or even local government space. They have chapters all over the country, maybe even all over the world. I'm not sure, but the leaders there are such amazing people, and I'm so glad that they have come on board as one of our sponsors for the show and everything that we do at Coach Powell Training and Development. I'm excited to work with them, and this is going to be a fabulous 2022. In fact, we just had a workshop on Thursday evening with the executives at Blacks in Government, and we talked about the 9 steps to mastery, really digging deep and really going to the next level about how you actually build professional relationships. It's such a crucial, critical topic when you want to make sure that you're getting the best opportunities for you in your business, in your industry, in your career. You're gonna want to have some high quality relationships with people who have the ability to support whatever it is that you want to try to do. And people who have that ability are likely to support you when they know what you bring to the table, when they understand what you have, what you're offering, and they can see you. This is critically important because a lot of people have talent. They have years of experience. They have abilities. They have knowledge and skills that are above and beyond what is called for in most situations. But the problem with that is a lot of unused ability, capabilities, and talents out there that is creating a talent vacuum. And one of the reasons why I think many of us are going to survive the great resignation, so to speak, is because the right people know that we're gifted in the right areas, and our ability to develop those relationships, those crucial relationships with hiring managers, CEOs, board members of organizations, and opportunities for them to see that talent is going to be critical for us to be able to stay employed, for us to be able to do the things we need to do to create value for our families and our community. So I highly recommend it if anybody is interested in developing or understanding more about the 9 steps to mastery. Pick up the phone, give me a call, text me. I will more than happy to share the program with you in any way, shape, or form, and that I think in a format that I think you can get to pretty easily. So feel free to do that. Today's program, like I said, we're going to have a special program. It's going to be all about hero storytelling. How do you create stories that have that heroic arc? That special thing that grabs us by the emotions and keeps us paying attention to whatever you have to say. And I have some new documents and some new things I want to put together. But one of the things I want to share with you is the 5 elements of perfect presentation. This is my example, a little training guide that I put together for anybody who's interested in knowing more about creating any type of presentation, whether it's a 60-second presentation, a 2-minute presentation, a 20-minute presentation, and it's all right there in the chat for you to pick up. And so if you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, you can find it. And if not, I'm going to see if I can't repost it. No, that's the wrong thing. I can't post that. I'm going to repost it in just a second. Yeah. Here's the article about storytelling, and in the comment section I am going to write a post for today's training. So you should be able to pick that right up in the comment section. By the way, if you have any comments about anything we share today, I want you to blow that comment section up. Tell us who you are. Tell us where you're coming from. Tell us, how you found out about us. If you have something to say about anything we're talking about, feel free to share your comments right then and there. We want as much interaction and engagement as possible because we want to make sure that this is available and useful for as many people as we can. I don't care if you're watching this as a recording. I don't care if you're catching the backstage pass or you're doing something later on. It's going to be really, really important that we get as much engagement as possible because that's where the learning begins. The more you input and the more you bring something to the table for us, the more we can all share and work together. If you have any questions, again, feel free to comment. If you have something that you want to offer, maybe you've got a business, no matter what the business is, feel free to come on board and share whatever you want to share there. And we're going to do a quick little commercial break right now, and we're going to come back. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce you to our special panelist today. This lady is amazing. All I can say is she's one of the best speech coaches and presenters that I've seen ever across the YouTube screens, and she's just high quality stuff. If you get a chance to subscribe to her YouTube channel and get a chance to get to know her, you are going to be richly blessed by the opportunity. I promise you this. I know I've been, and I'm so glad I bumped into her on LinkedIn. I've been cyber stalking her now for a couple weeks, maybe months. And so I'm glad she's taking the time to come into the show today, all the way from the motherland, right? So we really, really appreciate her and everything she's bringing to the table. But before we get to Miss Joyce Daniels, here's a word from our sponsor, our primary sponsor. Okay, everybody, I am so excited to introduce to you today just a super, super smart, intelligent, wildly talented, amazing public speaker. And not only is she a speaker herself, she's a trainer of speakers. She can help you. She calls herself a social engineering practitioner and conference speaker and event host. She's a best-selling author. She has done so much and has got so much work in out there for you to see. If you can check out her YouTube channel, check out her LinkedIn profile, her Facebook profile. She's blowing up in so many different areas, and she's doing so many wonderful things for entrepreneurs and business leaders all over the world. I mean, she's global. She's global, okay? And I'm so glad that she's taking that moment and taking the time to come by the show here and grace us with her presence. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Madam Joyce Daniels.
Thank you so much, Coach Powell. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here with you. I mean, thank you.
So, Joyce, tell us all about you.
All about me. Are you sure you're ready? So I am number 7 of 9 children, and I'm the child who everyone called the talkative child, always asking a question, always wanting to put my comments across. And after university, where I studied human anatomy, I have a degree in human anatomy, I just decided, no, I wasn't going to do anything in that science field. I was just going to speak for a living. And so I decided to be a master of ceremonies to host events. And then I also decided to train other people in public speaking and presentation skills because it's what I love, it's what I enjoy, it's what I'm good at. I thoroughly enjoy it. I believe that everyone who wants to turn the world around, make the world a better place, has to express themselves through speaking and presenting. And so I see myself as purposeful and very relevant to making things work in the society. I think that's all about myself that I'll say for now. If you have any more questions, please bring them on.
I do. And I have to let you know that one of the things I always try to ask our guest panelists is, and this it's not a question to stump you or anything, but it's a reminder of some of the things that we hold dear and valuable. I know all my listening audience hold these things valuable as well. I run an organization called the Round Table. In the Round Table, we have 3 key ideals that we try to promote and try to do all the time. And one of those is communication, right? Making sure we have positive communication strategy, which I know you're all about. One of those is encouragement, that we do everything we possibly can to encourage one another in our lives, in our businesses, because none of us gets enough attention. Everybody needs a little encouragement. And the last is collaboration. We try to do everything we can to work together to achieve greater results in our lives, our business, and our industry. And so those are the things that we promote: collaboration, encouragement, and communication. If you had to choose just one, here's the question. If you had to choose just one that really, really would light up your life, which one do you think is the most important thing that you would love to share with the world? Communication, encouragement, or collaboration? Go for it. I stumped you.
I would say communication.
I love it. Why do you say communication?
I can collaborate through communication. I can encourage through communication. So I would put communication as the bedrock for me.
So you cheated. That's the best answer. You came out with the best answer. Everybody comes up with other things, but of course, Dr. Daniels, right? You come up with the best answer, right? Communication is everything, right? If you can't communicate, you can't do any other stuff, right?
Exactly.
I told you guys. I told you she was sharp. All right, she's no dull knife in the drawer. That's for sure. She's definitely taking.
Thank
So
you.
now, where are you from originally, Joyce?
Say that again.
Where are you from originally?
I am from Edo State in Nigeria, and I am right now in another state called Ogun State in Nigeria. That's my home. This is home.
So geographically, what part of Nigeria is that? Is that close to the coast? Is it in the hinterland?
My state is in the south, which is closer to the coastal line, closer to the Atlantic Ocean.
Awesome. Well, it's so good to have you on the show. I'm going to put you backstage as I talk about hero storytelling. And so you can take your notes and chop it up, and anything that you disagree with, definitely come on and tell us. That's a bunch of
I'll be right here.
Whatever you agree with, go ahead and do the same. So I'm going to put you backstage and just pay attention, and we'll bring you back in just a little bit. Okay, so obviously today we're talking about the next element in the 5 elements of perfect presentation. We talked earlier about how to make sure that any presentation that you do has impact, right? We really started with, you want to make sure you start off with impact. You're going to do that. And then we're going to get into making sure that that story is relevant through a lot of storytelling. It's very, very important that you understand, quite well, that the stories that we tell, let me make sure I got my little ditty here, have drama, right? You want to make sure that that dramatic element is within the story, because drama has a special way of grabbing our emotional attention in a very special way. So, and one of the ways that drama needs to unfold is through the next element, which is heroism. Now, next week, we're going to be talking about vision, and the week after that, we're going to talk about recognition. But these are all various parts of the storytelling system, all of the presentation mindset that you need to have to make sure that your presentation has a flow, and it be from the beginning to the end. When you think about it, there's a reason why we want to tell hero stories as best we possibly can. And there's some tricks and some no-nos that I want to make you aware of when you tell a hero story. If you're on stage and everybody wants you to tell your story, and your story is a very important story to tell, but your story is limited. The story you tell about yourself is limited, and yes, you can go through the traditional hero's arc, right? You can have a problem, a tragedy, a drama. You can have something that you maybe overcome to become a champion in your own story, right? And you can just land that into a happy ending, right? So it's very, very important to have that hero's arc in any story you tell, even if you're telling a story about yourself. Here's why I don't encourage you when you're giving a presentation to tell a story about yourself. Because once you tell a story about yourself, no matter what the story is, right? When you tell a story about yourself, people can empathize with you or sympathize with you or have whatever emotional reaction you want them to have with you. But that's not going to make them take the action necessary that you want them to take, because you may want to influence them to take another action that has nothing to do necessarily with your story. Your story, or how you came to being, or what you need to do, or how you make this decision, or overcame these obstacles and all kinds of stuff, is a story that definitely shares a lot about your character. But the problem is when it's you in the story, what you want people to do next is to transform and go into a different place and do something that you want them to do. Like, for instance, buy a service or product from you, or take a recommendation that you're making, or refer you to somebody who can then support you in some way, shape, or form. The action that you want somebody to take has to be embedded in the story. And if the story is about you, it's really too personal in a lot of different ways, right? So if you're saying, I want you to take action and buy from me, then again, it's almost like you're begging. In that regard, you're making a big deal out of yourself, your situation, your product, your service, whatever that is, and you're hoping that's going to be enough to motivate somebody to move forward. And that's not about them. See, they don't see themselves in that story. They see you in that story. You want to tell stories that connect people to the hero in the story, and the hero needs to be taking the action that you want the people to take. And so if you want somebody to buy from you, you tell them a story of how someone else was a hero by making a purchase from you, and the problems that they had to overcome to make that decision. The protagonist in the story becomes the person who made the decision that you want the audience to make. So if you want the audience to refer you, you tell a story about somebody who referred you. If you want the audience to accept your presentation, you tell the story about somebody who accepted the presentation. That's the character. That's the hero. That's the person who has to take the hero's journey, the person who has to go through the thing that they have to go through, making the decision, analyzing the problem, really coming up with it, and understanding if they don't fix this problem, tragedy would occur either for them, for their family, or for somebody around them, the organization, whatever that is. And so make them the hero of the story for making the decision to work with you. And in that way, your audience, whoever your audience is, they begin to feel for that person, because you can create the character, you can create the resources, and go back on the drama piece that I was talking about earlier, and you'll be able to figure out how to pull that together. I'm going to read an excerpt from the 5 elements of presentation about hero storytelling, so that you can understand a little bit more about what the hero does in the story, and how the hero drives the benefits home to the listening audience. Okay, so now that you've caused your audience to connect to the character and to feel the magnitude of his plight, of the plight of the hero, their understanding is on the edges of their seat. They're looking, they're wondering what's going to happen next. Who's going to step in and save the day? When will this pain and the misery that the hero is experiencing go through? When is it going to be over? When is it going to be when is it going to be done? Right? There should be so much anticipation at this point, so that people are on the edge of their seat. And you're going to hold on to that drama as long as you can. By now, we need somebody to come in and rescue the day, save the day for our poor hero. Our hero has to save the day. Somebody has to help him. There's some resource that has to come in and pull them out of the drama that the hero is experiencing. Now, I'm going to remind you again, if you didn't do a good job of setting up the drama, then the hero's not having a problem. There's no suffering. There's no anguish. There's nothing that is going to cause that emotional roller coaster you want to take your audience on, right? You want to make sure that you're not working against yourself by just setting up a fact-based situation. These are just the facts, and these are the facts, and this is the information that's out there. You want to make sure you spend the time to set that story up so it rolls just like a drama. There needs to be pain, anguish. Think of weeping and gnashing of teeth, right? You want problems. You want your hero to be going through problems. And that's another reason why you can't use you in the story, because if the problem's so big that you can work your way out of, people are going to think they can work their way out of it too. So you want to use another person, a character that you create, because you want to make sure people feel the depth of the problem. If it's not you, you can go really, really deep with the problem, and not be so emotionally attached to it yourself. And that way people can you can sink them down to the, I mean, if people aren't crying or thinking about crying, then you don't got them yet. You know, you got to make sure you tell that hero story in a way that's good when to get there. Now, although you're probably brilliant at what you do, right? You want people to have empathy for the character, not you. You come into the story by just doing what you always do. Whatever it is that you always do, whether it's train people or develop people or work with people or sell a product or get a product to them, so that because the product is the problem they have is suffering and anguish before they receive the benefit of the product or service that you have to offer. And so you want to make sure that whatever idea you have, whatever you want people to do, is actually a solution, guaranteed 100%, like locked in stone. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is people are going to feel like there's not a real big problem here. They will have wasted their time. They'll be invested in a character, in a hero, in something that you created, but now there's no solution, there's no resolution. That's not a happily ever after story. That is a tragedy. You know, that's a horror story. It doesn't have a happy ending, right? And so there are 5 elements to the hero story that bring benefits that I want to share with you. And these 5 elements are this, right? A hero story always elevates the consciousness of the people who are listening. It also elevates the speaker who's sharing the information. A hero story will heal whatever psychic wounds a person may have had in their past, whatever mistrust they've had in their past, whatever's created pain and suffering for them in their past. Watching and experiencing the hero going through the drama, the trauma, the feelings, the emotional discord, whatever they're doing, and come out on the other side gives them an idea of how they could do it themselves. So it starts to heal the wounds that they may have experienced, no matter what they've experienced in their past, no matter what trauma it is. Seeing or believing or seeing another person deal with it, even if it's in a fantastical world. That's why movies are such a great thing, and shows and plays are such a great thing for us to experience human emotions, to realize that we have the same emotions that the character may have, even if the character is not even a real character, right? So it helps us heal the psychic wounds. The third benefit of a great hero story is it nourishes our social connections. You have to know that your audience is probably all experiencing the same emotional ride, the same emotional roller coasters, all at the same time, right? And we're all experiencing the same thing at this. This is why when people, the applause of an audience in a show or in a program or in a story, anywhere, it feels good for everybody, because we all know we're in this thing together, right? We're creating a social connection, that this is an experience. You're telling a wonderful story. Everybody else is getting a chance to experience the story along with you while you're telling the story. So it makes people feel connected to you, the storyteller, but it also makes people feel connected to people around them who are experiencing the story at the same time, right? The fourth thing a great story does is it inspires possibility. It makes us understand that the thing that the hero suffered through and dealt with, we have the ability to deal with ourselves. It creates a stronger potential for an audience or people around us, helps us come together, inspire possibility, and it helps us create new heroes. Because if you understand how to tell a story well and you do it so amazingly, people can remember the same story that you told almost in the same pace, in the rhythm and the style that you did, because they're recurring the emotions that they're experiencing, and they're able to share that over and over and over again. Let me give you the benefit of what most of my friends from the motherland or any indigenous country or world view is from. Understand that stories are how they transmitted generations and generations and generations of information in great detail. And people were able to embed that in their memory and then transfer it to another person and another person and another person without writing it down. It was through the repetition of these stories and people hearing and experiencing these stories. People are grounded in who they are, in their culture. They're grounded in their experience in the world. They're grounded in their universal understanding of what's going to happen and where they come from and where they're going to go. And so the great questions, I learned these from Dr. Maulana Karenga, who talked about Kawaida theory. And Kawaida theory answers 3 questions. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? When you tell amazing hero stories, you allow people to plug into the answers to those great universal questions that we've always asked and always seek to understand. Who am I? Am I really who I say I am? And am I all that I ought to be? The experience that you drive when you talk to people, when people experience you, when people get a chance to get where you're coming from. And if you do this well in any presentation, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you have 60 seconds, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you have time to tell a great hero story. In fact, let me start you off. Let's start the discussion off with a great hero story. Here's one that I developed just as an illustration of how you can take people through that emotional arc. Here is the story of Warren. And if you found this on my LinkedIn profile, you can read along with me, but don't worry about it. I'm going to read it to you. Here's Warren's story. Warren was not just your average high school 4-letter athlete. He was the kind of kid that showed tons of talent for innovation and for leadership. With his grades and his skills, he could have easily entered any college in the land, any university he wanted to go to. But Warren chose instead to join the Eli & Sons training program for plumbers. Now, you might have thought, why would a kid that had so much going for him decide to choose a trade? But here's the reason. You see, Eli and his sons had been a long-standing business tradition in what was once the small town of Reston in Northern Virginia. Mr. Eli had sponsored most of Warren's sports team as a young lad and had seemed to follow him all of his life. And although Warren had a dad of his own, he always looked up to Mr. Eli because he was always a tinkerer and loved getting his hands dirty. And he saw that Mr. Eli was able to be a pillar in his community at the same time and still have fun, be out on the field with the kids, cheer them on, baseball, soccer, and everything you could imagine. There was Mr. Eli. He was there, and they were wearing T-shirts and shirts with his name on it. So 20 years later, Warren found himself the only master plumber in old man Eli's company. Long since retired, Mr. Eli left his 2 sons in charge, and neither of them had the technical expertise to run a crew or even connect a pipe. Warren felt desperate, alone, and absolutely panicked when he realized after a church-led personal financial workshop that he and his wife Cindy, his high school girlfriend, had gone to, that they had nowhere near enough money saved to send their 2 boys, which at now this point, age 11 and 13, to college. It was coming up right around the corner. The ticket price was going to be overwhelming, right? And the consideration that they need to have and to think about their current debt load, and there's just no way to make it happen and pay the mortgage on Warren's salary. So after months of agonizing, Warren reluctantly approached the Eli brothers with a proposal. Many of us do the same thing. When we realize that the job that we have is not going to meet the responsibilities that we've got, we go with a proposal, and Warren was no different. So he needed desperately to become a partner in the business in order to improve his pay and improve his income. And sadly, if he didn't get that, he was going to have to strike out on his own, start his own plumbing company, and then turn around and compete with the Eli brothers, right? So Warren felt like his family was on the brink and that he wasted his entire career, and that his appeal to the brothers was the last final effort that he was going to make to really, really turn the tides of his life and turn his business. Opportunists that they were, the Eli brothers almost immediately saw an opportunity to take advantage of Warren's desperation. They could keep him from becoming a tremendous competitor and rope him into staying with the company without any effort on their part. All they had to do was to tell him that over the next 6 months, if he could raise the company productivity with his crew by an impossible 200%, that they would make him a partner with the requisite bump in salary and benefits, and needed to fund his boy's education, pay off his mortgage, and do all the things he wanted to do in his life. So Warren nervously agreed. He was caught between a rock and a hard place, and he needed to do something different, and he just agreed to do it. He agreed he'd give it a shot. He didn't have a clue how he was going to get this done. He didn't know how he was going to motivate his friends and his associates who currently were just working with him on his crew to dig deep and find ways. He didn't know how to sell. He didn't know how to create new opportunities. He just knew how to work on the stuff that was in front of him. And now he was in charge of trying to create this new business development model for the organization that would bring such profitability to them. But it's what he had to do in order to get what he needed to get done. Now, I know some of you have been in the situation where Warren has been. You've been at a crossroads in your life and in your career and your business, and you need to figure out what to do next. And when you can tell a hero story like I just told about Warren, what happens is everybody understands that and gets connected to it and feels close to it. And those same emotional elements that we just had are right there. And now it's time for a solution. It's time for something to come in, a person to come in to make sure that they did that. Now, I got some great audience members out here. Augustine, I can't even pronounce that name, Augustine. I really apologize for that because, you know, I'm a little distant here in the Americas, and my African ain't that good. So here we're gonna go. Let's go with. Let me just answer the question. This is was Warren's question. You want me to repeat that fifth area, and I'm going to share it in a couple different ways. First of all, I'm going to share it in a private chat here. I already have a link to the story that I just told. So you'll be able to see all 5 elements in the story that I just told. And let me see if I can't find the 5 elements really quickly and share them again. Let's wrap it up. First element is a hero story elevates your consciousness, elevates the consciousness of the audience. Second is it heals the psychic wounds of everybody. Number 3, it nourishes the social connections. Number 4, it inspires possibility. And number 5, it helps to create new heroes. And those are all 5 to wrap up. I apologize, Augustine, for not doing that well, but you know, we endeavor to do better. This is why I got Joyce on the call, because she can help me be better. All right, Joyce, come on in. I know you got lots to add to what we shared today, and anything that you disagree with, you know, hey, she's the champ. If she says I'm wrong, then you guys got to go with her. Any thoughts at all about anything we shared today, Joyce?
I honestly have I have taught for years about the power of telling a personal story. This is the first time in my career that I am actually agreeing that you don't have to be the hero of the story. I have taught my audiences to always try to position themselves to be the hero so that they can keep the stories, what's the word now? Verifiable, cogent,
authentic, right?
Keep it authentic, exactly.
Yes.
But I see 100% the point you just made, of course, with Warren's story that you told. And guess what? I agree. And I am going to frame some of my stories to suit this guidelines that you've shared with us. It allows us, the right storytelling will allow us to nourish social connections. I hadn't seen it that way before. I tell you, Coach, I came here to be coached tonight.
So yeah, there's a lot of research, obviously, in what I've shared with you guys. That's why I went ahead and put the training manual in the chat so people can download it and see it for themselves. But it's critically important, I think, that, you know, it's easy to tell. It's like baby steps, right? So telling your personal story, you have to know how to tell your personal story. I do think your personal story has a place, right? You have to know how to tell your personal story, because that's where your relevance, your authenticity, all of that juicy stuff, you know, you're talking about comes from. But now, what do people do with that personal story? Because once they feel empathy for you, right, and they can feel your plight. Now it's like, okay, how do you convince them to take whatever the next step is? Is it the same step you took? Is that what you want them to do? You want them to do the same thing you did? So you also
maybe
think about,
not.
Right, exactly. That's the point. It's like, what do you want your audience to do with what after you present your information or whatever? Because we're talking about presentation here, right? And so if you want to influence them to do something other than what you did in your story, then it's not helpful to tell your story, because you've now got them excited and emotionally connected to something other than the action that you want them to take. And
Yes.
although your story might be entertaining, it might be engaging, it might be powerful and all that stuff. If you want people to do, see, I'm a coach. It says my job is to motivate people to do stuff. you know, so I have to tell
Get
stories,
something done.
right? That motivate the action that they need to take. I can't tell stories about something action I took because they might not be in the same situation to take the same actions that I took. Although they can see the hope and get inspired and all that kind of stuff, it might be too hard for them to do the
Yes.
things that I did. So I
Yes.
got to give
You're
them
right.
something that makes sense for them to be able to do. And so next week
So
we'll
I
talk about
have a question
go.
for you, Coach. The story doesn't always have to be real. It could be made up, right? It could be a work of fiction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And it doesn't lose its authenticity because it's a work of fiction.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of people think, well, if it's not my story, then I can't tell it. If it's not true, if I haven't experienced it myself, I can't tell it. And I'm saying, well, that's kind of ridiculous because how many stories have you experienced in your life that were actually your stories?
True.
Then all of our life is developed on other people's stories. And so
Okay.
so it's the storyteller and the person who weaves the tale is the winner in that situation. You know, we're in love with everything that George Lucas does, right? And George Lucas ain't in any story that he's ever told. You know, from Star Wars to Raiders of the Lost Ark or whatever shows or things that you're interested
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
he wasn't in it. You know, even the great Broadway shows or any of the shows that any things that we experience, those were written. And that's another thing I talked about in my earlier two in, uh, strategies when it comes to storytelling. Importance of writing it down.
First.
You gotta write it down. In fact, I was listening to a training that you did that talked about market analysis and how you craft a presentation for your audience by the information that you got from your market analysis. I love for you to share, you know, those steps that you shared in that training about how you come up with your market analysis strategy and so on and so forth, because that was like a godsend to me. It's like golden. So would you mind? I don't know. I know it's something that you know you have from your presentations, but really quickly, could you just blow people away with that thing?
That's fine. Thank you so much. I'm not sure which of the trainings now or recordings, but I would just give a generic response to that. Two major things to take away from marketing feedback and questions and surveys is what the client wants, what they're seeking, which speaks to understanding what psychic wounds they already have, right? Or where they are in their levels of consciousness, so that when we speak to them and provide solution, we are sure it's fitting the need, so that we don't speak above their heads. We want to fit that need that would elevate their consciousness. But how do we elevate the consciousness of people we don't know where the consciousness is at?
Right.
So that market analysis helps you know their level of consciousness, and then what wounds do they have. And sometimes it's as simple as asking, what experiences have you had in this regard that make you want to do ABC, or what are you afraid of? Those kinds of questions that that can expose emotional and psychic wounds, so that you speak to them. And if you don't have the solution, you can invite someone to speak to them on your behalf, or you can just say, this audience is not for me, and find the audience that is for you, so that you don't have a mixed match and prefer the wrong solution to the right set of people. I think that helps.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Listen, my audience, I'm sure you guys have lots of questions. If you do have a question, definitely put it in the chat. Even more importantly, if you're coming from someplace other than the Americas and you want to let us know where you're coming from in the chat, I would really like to know that. If you have a business that you want to share or link that you want us to share, please go ahead and do this. I'm going to put Joyce's link back up again that she shared with me in the private chat, so you guys can get to that. Please
Yeah.
check out her YouTube channel. It is fire. Okay, just want you to know. Everything that comes out of her mouth is just juicy, juicy, juicy. It's important stuff that you got to learn if you're going to talk, if you're going to present. And by the way, everybody does it. I just looked at a LinkedIn post, and some lady said, I think the illustration she gave on the post was respect my presentation fee. She wants people to pay her for her presentations, for speaking, right?
Okay.
And immediately I realized that, I had done a training earlier on respect. What respect really is. Everybody wants it. Everybody says, I want respect. I want you to respect me, respect my professionalism, respect my attitude, respect whatever I want you to respect, right? And I think that people don't really know what respect is, because respect is really admiration and holding something about someone else in high regard.
I see.
Something that you hold in high regard and or admire. So when we're calling for respect, what we're calling for is admiration.
Yes.
We're saying to someone, I need you to hold me or something about me in high regard. Well, how can a person do that if they don't know you?
Difficult, almost impossible.
You can walk around all day long screaming for respect. Give me
You get
something
none.
to respect, and I have a high likelihood that I actually can respect you. But if you haven't shared with me anything about you that's deep enough, more meaningful enough, powerful enough for me to go, you know what? I really admire that. So therefore, I have a respect in what you do. Then I can say I respect you, which is why that's why I invited you to come on the show, Joyce, is because
Oh,
I
coach.
I did the work. I took the time to hear you, to see you doing the thing that you do. And I'm thinking, this sister is amazing. I have to have her on the show. And because I have a deep, abiding respect for what you do for other organizations. I've seen you putting together groups and you're talking about stuff. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. Oh, coach, my head is just swelling. I hope it doesn't fall off, my shoulders. Thank you. So, what I do is really right now, I want to help people not only make their presentations, but to have the confidence to speak their truths, to be purposeful, to be fulfilled. So I'm helping people develop more confidence, more courage, which of course is built on self worth and self esteem, self respect. And then they can build their message or messages on why. I found that I was training people in public speaking and presentation skills for years, and many of them were not able to get results, the results I thought they could get. They would just have a wonderful time in the training, say, oh, it was fantastic, and later, what are you doing? How did that go? And like, oh, well, not so good. What went wrong? And I'm not sure. I tried to do everything you said, but there was a gap. And by asking more questions, market analysis, I found that the gap was many of them knew the nuances, but didn't have the confidence to speak from the heart. So many of them were trying to be somebody else on
Mm-hmm,
stage or in front of
mm-hmm,
an audience, not
mm-hmm.
being authentic, true to themselves because they didn't have enough courage. So right now, as much as I want people to speak and present, I try to show them how to develop more self-respect, enough to get more self-confidence and courage to get what they've done, or to deliver what they can. And to add to we've been talking about tonight about heroism, what confidence does for a person is it helps them speak in color more than when they have no confidence. So speaking in color is of course, for someone who doesn't know, is adding those little details to the story that makes the story delightful. So
Yes.
you're not just talking about you went down the road or you went down a road. You're saying you went down the Olusegun Obasanjo road in Ogun State, in Nigeria, and by the corner of the tree, there was a blue sedan. You're adding some color that people can connect to. and then they can follow you and they can have that connection to make sense of it. If you don't have the confidence, you will leave out all the details and give a boring old story, and we might
Oh my
lose the
God.
power of the hero in the story.
You are so right. You are so right. In fact, we're making me think of something that I learned just recently. My daughter is a student of theater administration at Howard University. She's about to graduate. She just finished her last assignments, and so she's
Yay!
done.
Cheers to her.
So she's done at the world famous Howard Theater. But one of the things I remember she did when she first got there was she had to read this book. Now, this book is, you probably can't see it because of the light, but this is a book. It's called An Actor Prepares by Konstantin Stanislavski. Now, in this book, Stanislavski talks about how do you create a character? How do you become the character? And so I'm going to suggest that everybody who tells a story, if you're a storyteller, you are helping other people understand the nuances, like you just said, of the character and the experience that the character is going through. And so you have to practice that thing so much and so well that you literally know how to become the character. And that's where your authenticity comes from. Now, there's a reason why Denzel Washington or your famous actors and actresses can become a different character. You can see them in different plays and different shows and really see different people in the same people, because they have rehearsed that part, they have practiced it, they understand there's a backstory that they know about for that character. So they know how that person grew up and how that person was developed, how that person became them. And so they're sharing not from a point of I'm just learning some lines, but from a point of I understand and I know and I feel for the life of this person. So therefore, when I share my representation of them, I'm coming from an authentic place, and nobody can tell the difference between me and them when it's all said and done. It's just it's character development, right? That's and that's why it's important to not just write down what you want to say, but write down the backstory. Where is your character coming from? Who is your character all about? What brought him to the point where he or she is making the decisions that they're making right now, and help us understand where that might come from, because then you're in the story. Now it's authentic. Now it's real. Now the emotions and the feelings that color that you're talking about really can pop, because when you're relating to the blue of the sedan in the story along the river, right? The person can remember, like, when I was a child, that was the first time I experienced that kind of blue. And it reminds me of, the colors in my grandfather's hat that he used to wear, or a feather he used to wear. And now all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, they're into it, right? Now, I know I sound like I must be a thespian, or I want to talk about theater and all that stuff, but I don't. I'm in it as long as my daughter's in it, and then I'm moving on. But it's important that you realize that you cannot get there unless you do exactly what Augustine is suggesting. Rehearse, practice, understand the backstory. This is how you become what you need to become, to tell the stories that you need to tell, to motivate people, to move people, to inspire people. And, next week we're going to be talking about vision. How do you create vision in the stories that you bring out to people, so that people can see themselves in the story and they can see themselves participating in whatever action that you want them to take? Because just telling a story about a hero who overcame something is not enough. And that's like, now what do you want? What is the power that you want to release into the universe, into the people that you're inspiring to talk to? What is that power like? What does it look like for them? And what do you want them to do with it? That's when you're sharing the right vision, and they're seeing themselves inspired by it. They can jump into it and run with it. We'll be talking about that next week. Hopefully, if we get lucky, Joyce won't be so tired. hang out with us. I really appreciate everybody who came through today. Again, I don't have any questions. What's going on, people? I know you guys have some questions. So I'm not going to let you go till you ask me some questions. I could tell that a lot of you are already Joyce fans, and I appreciate you for logging on. Joyce, do you know
Thank you all.
Nancy or Augustine?
I know Nancy, I know Augustine, and yeah, they're my people.
Oh, there you go. All right.
And
Well, like, wait a
and
minute.
Tijeri, and I'm so glad that they made it tonight. We put out the link there. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you for encouraging me to continue doing what I do. Thank you.
She is so good. And I want to thank you too, because I agree. She is Mama Bear, you know.
And she is Baby Bear.
Yeah,
She
yes,
does
yes.
an excellent work in speaking as well.
I
So does
love it. I love
Augustine,
it.
yes.
And
Yeah.
to
Tejiri.
dear Tijeri, thank you for coming on. We really
Yes.
appreciate you. You I hope you're following Joyce. 'Cause I'm following Joyce. You know, so she's amazing. I absolutely agree. And Nancy's out there too. So it's just lovely to have
Thank you,
the
Nancy
support
Dehan.
and the friends and everybody. I really appreciate you coming on the show. If you want to get more of the lessons like this, I try to have good panelists and good speakers in every single week, every single Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I know it's a bit of a different time schedule for you all over in the
Oh,
motherland, but
yes.
I appreciate you for coming through for us
Thank you.
and being a part of this. It was really amazing. Nancy, I'm sorry, Joyce, I'm going to have you sit backstage for a minute because I'm going to close out the show, but you and I got lots to talk about. And so I want to make sure you don't go anywhere
Okay.
until we finish, okay?
Okay. See you in a bit.
All righty. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, that was Coffee Tea You and Me. Like I said on the show, this week we talked about, heroism and how do you bring heroism into the story? How do you make sure you're telling hero stories whenever you get a chance? If you find yourself have an opportunity to do a presentation of any type with anybody, you want to tell hero stories. These are the sticky things that human beings have always delighted in and been inspired by. And in fact, they are the glue that holds our whole entire world together. If you've ever done any studies on hero stories like I have, then you know that they appeal to all of our emotions and they help us actually feel the way we should feel and the things that we want to feel in a safe way. So that we can deal with those feelings and then come out of those feelings in a decision-making mode so we can do something special and create great opportunities for our lives. So hope you paid attention. Hope you like it. Hope you pay it. I hope you, share it. Don't keep this a secret. Let everybody else know that you've experienced this. Go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. We put out a new show every single week. If there's something that you want to see in shows coming up, hit me up in the chat. I'll think about it. And if I think if it's a good idea, I'm going to interject it into a show, I will definitely do it. You can go back and, by the way, we've done now, this probably is maybe the 120th or maybe 130th show we've done. I got to count these up. But since COVID started, we used to do this program face-to-face in a local coffee shop. And now that we are live and able to do this, and broadcast it throughout the world, we're picking up, energy and people from all over the place. I thank you as well, Augustine. Thank you very much. I saw you. I see you out there, brother. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to participate and do. And again, like I said to any of you all in the listening audience, if you have anything to add to the chat, if you have anything that you want to share going forward with the audience, go ahead and put your information, put your contact information, put your websites, anything you want in the chat. This is a business friendly zone. We want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to represent themselves. I'm super excited about it. I see you out there, Michelle. I noticed some of the things that we posted that you can't see on LinkedIn. So I'm gonna repost them and make sure that you get everything from the chats that everybody's been posting and sharing on the LinkedIn channel. So stay tuned. Don't worry about that. We'll pick it up after the show, but you'll be able to get that contacts and that information. So I appreciate you for coming through. All right, guys, I had a great time. It's now 3:57, and I'm gonna sign off, and Joyce and I are gonna have a private chat. You guys don't have anything to do with that. We're gonna have some fun by ourselves. Talk to you later. Bye now.